Today's title is Forgetting. And a little bit of background first. I am just over 5 years since my diagnosis, and physically I seem to be doing quite well. And my symptoms physically are not that great that people actually notice that I have them. I get the odd tremor from time to time, and that can be mostly when I'm cold or anxious, especially when I'm anxious. One of the things that I've noticed is one time when I went to the dentist. Now, I've always hated going to the dentist, who doesn't? And I went to the dentist and I started feeling stressed. Now, one of the reasons I started feeling stressed was because when you have a swallowing issue with Parkinson's, as I do, it can be quite disconcerting, somebody squirting a jet of water into your mouth and down your throat. It's not ideal. And it made me feel quite nervous that I was going to choke on the water, so I had to kind of tell them to give me the opportunity to put my hand up if I needed to have a break. So we have that sus now. So my physical symptoms are not that bad, and it's predominantly I'm noticing things about my cognitive abilities, particularly my memory, and that does concern me. One thing I notice about my memory is the fact that because I'm aware that I have some memory issues, I can be very immediate in my needs when it comes to communicating what I need or want from somebody. And unfortunately, the buck usually stops with my poor husband, where I go, oh gosh, I need to do this. Oh heck, I can't do it myself because there would be an unacceptable element of risk, mostly according to my husband, and therefore I won't try it because I don't want to get in trouble and I don't want to get halfway through and not be able to achieve it. So, unfortunately, things that I might have done by myself, given a crack, and then maybe asked for help, I have to, in the first instance, go direct to the supplier, who is my husband, who supplies me with endless patience and is asked endless questions and little bits and pieces that I need done for me. But I've always been a bit of an immediate person. If I want something done, I want it done now. I want it done yesterday. I don't like to wait. I like to get things done. When it occurs to me that something needs to happen, it needs to happen quickly in my book. The trouble with that, when you are in a position where you can't do things due to risk factors and you are accustomed to just getting on and doing, it can be very frustrating having to ask somebody for that help. And I'm sure it is both from my side of things and the asking, and my poor husband in the unfortunate position of being the doer. So he must find it quite frustrating when I just launch at him and ask him to do things, to write things down as much as possible so that I can then refer to my notes and remember what I had wanted to talk to my husband about and any other things that I need to recall. I used to be like that when I was working as well. I was a social worker on a busy hospital ward, and we had a number of other team members of various disciplines, and I would see somebody across the room and think, oh, there she is, I've been wanting to speak to her all day. And I would hear up to them and I'd go, hi, gosh, it's good that I found you. I've been looking for you for hours, or I've been looking for you for days, and maybe a little bit of an exaggeration there. But I really need to talk to you about something. And then I notice the look on their face. The look on their face of, oh shit, what is she talking about? And I have other things on my mind. Oh, if I'm tuned in, right, I'll go, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I really do need to talk to you about XYZ, the patient. But do you have time now? Or shall we set aside some time a bit later? Or what works for you? So if I can tune into myself and to the startled look on their faces, then I used to try to back off a little, give them time if they needed that, and then we'd come back to whatever my conversation was going to be about. And most of the time we managed to achieve that. So memory can be a bit of an issue for me, as it can for many people. And it's one of those things that, if somebody looks at me, I've been told by many people that they cannot tell that I have Parkinson's. And that is a joy to me. Long may that continue. And it's good when people say that I don't look like somebody with Parkinson's. But it's interesting that many, many people, when I've talked to them, they reel off physical symptoms that they know that a person with Parkinson's is likely to have. But there's almost no or very, very little said to me about any cognitive issues, any issues with thinking, planning, organising, remembering. Nobody really that I've struck has has sort of trotted that out as something that might be affected by Parkinson's. And that is the frustrating thing, because we always notice the obvious. Yeah, it goes without saying that I might be unsteady on my feet at some point. It goes without saying that I may need to have a walking aid. All those sorts of things will change over time, as it would with anybody aging, but maybe just a bit quicker for somebody with Parkinson's. So yeah, my cognitive side of things, I'm just noticing a few bits and pieces. Now, I've written this in my blog today because I do both my blog and my podcast. And my blog is Parkies and Me, My Journey with Parkinson's. And I was saying about something that does happen in the house where I get sidetracked. So I might be walking down the hall with something in my hand to take to the bedroom. And as I go past the bathroom door, I might see that the bathroom vanity needs cleaning. I thought, I'll just sort of glide in there and attend to that while I'm thinking about it. So just before I go into there, I need to put down the thing that I was taking to the bedroom. So I go into the bathroom, I clean the bathroom, then I sort of tidy up a few things in the bathroom and think, yeah, that's looking good. Then I go to the door and think, now what was I doing? And I might think to myself, I think I was taking something somewhere, and I'll look down and there's a chair outside the toilet that can be quite a handy place to sit if you need to put your socks on or something. And anyway, there's a chair next to the toilet, and often that has bits and pieces on it that were on the way to put away. And on that chair might be the thing that I was going to put in the bedroom. But I might look at it and go, now, where was I going? Oh, no. Actually, before I do that, I might come out of the bathroom and think, I know I was on my way to somewhere to do something, but where was I going? And so it is a left turn to my bedroom and a right turn to the kitchen. And I might take the right turn to the kitchen and get all the way to the kitchen and go, what was I going to grab from the kitchen? And where was I going to take it? And then it may be that I think, no, I don't think it was the kitchen. I think it might have been the bedroom. Go back to the bedroom, get there and think, was I bringing something here or was I picking something up? And so I can get in a real schmozzle. And yeah, so I can be standing there for 1 minute in the bathroom, 1 minute in the kitchen, next minute in the bedroom, in each room, not quite knowing what I was supposed to be doing at the time. So yeah, sometimes it's not that bad, but sometimes, I just go, I don't know, I'll just go back to the lounge and sit down and maybe do some crocheting or something. And when I sit down, I go, I know, I think, I was going to take that thing into the bedroom. And hopefully it comes back to me. And I do find that anything to do with memory, if I give myself time to say, okay, so no, we've lost that, can't remember that at all, what can we do? Perhaps if I go and sit down for a while and do something else, it will occur to me. And that can sometimes be very useful, because I found with myself and with people I used to work with who had issues relating to their brain and relating to memory, that the harder you try and grasp or remember something that you wanted to remember, it placed a stress upon you. And when you're stressed, you can't think very well, and you're more likely to get anxious and more likely to not have the full capacity of your brain to work with. So I encourage people, when they're needing to remember something, first of all, to write it down as quickly as they can so they have it there in a form that will tell them what they need to do with said item. If they just write hairbrush, am I going to pick up my hairbrush and brush my hair? Am I going to grab my hairbrush from somewhere in the kitchen or the lounge and put it away in the bathroom or the bedroom? So yeah, just writing hairbrush is not going to tell me much. Do I need to go and buy a new one perhaps? Have I lost the one that I was using? It could be all sorts of things. So if I write hairbrush, I need to write buy a new one. So yeah, you need to be a bit specific when you're trying to write a note to remember things, because if you just put one word like hairbrush, you then have to remember what the hairbrush note was all about. So yeah, you just need to be a bit more specific. So yeah, I am noticing these changes. I am still reasonably high functioning, and I hope that I will continue to be that way. But yeah, definitely the memory is starting to play a few tricks on me. The other thing that I have is a Perspex weekly calendar with room to write things down. And that can be really useful. The only trouble is I really have to make the effort to make sure that it's up to date. I have got the weekly calendar and I've got the monthly calendar, and I'm thinking I've only got one weekly calendar and maybe I should have two instead of the monthly, because I need to know what I'm doing in the week that I'm in and what's coming up in the following week. So maybe I need to think about that. Recently that system kind of fell down because I knew that I hadn't updated it, so I wasn't checking it on the fridge. And so I missed an appointment or two, and that's not like me. I do like to be on time, I do like to be reliable, but so the weekly calendar is really useful for me to know when my husband's about, when he's not, what shifts he's working, so that I can work out meals or things that I want to do that maybe are good to do on a day when he's working. So the days when he is home, I'm available to spend time with him. So it's about having strategies that work and that work for you. My systems may not work for anybody else, and other people's systems might not work for me. So it's about finding ways of tracking things that you will want to remember, that you will want to do, that you'll want to be at. Like I've had a few Christmas things this week, and I've managed to get to them all and not forget any, which is pretty great for me. So it's the forgetting is the thing that I'm noticing. When I'm speaking to somebody, I can start with a sentence and have a clear idea of where I'm going with it, but halfway through I might go, oh heck, I forget what I was going to say. Sometimes the words or the thought will come back to me and I'll be able to carry on, but sometimes they don't. And like I said before, the more I kind of push myself to go, what was I going to say, the faster that thought, that memory escapes from me. So it's better for me to get on with something else, and then hopefully that memory will return to me. I'm sure there's other strategies that I could use, and I'm wondering what other people do. What are you noticing about your progression? Are you noticing that you're forgetting things? How do you manage that? How do you remember important things that you need to remember? Do you have somebody who acts as your memory? As an example, I tend to take my husband to the doctor when I need to go. I mean, when he needs to go, he can go by himself. That's all good. I would go if he wanted me, but he is able to go by himself. But for me, if there's a lot of stuff to relay to my husband, then I'll get home and he'll say, so what did the doctor say about X, Y, Z? And I'll say, oh, he said, let me see. Oh, yeah, he said, and I'll say a few things. And he goes, oh, did he mean? And in relaying or trying to relay that information to my husband, I can get a bit tied up in knots because I feel the pressure of having to tell him probably important stuff that the doctor said to me, but not being able to necessarily recall. By the same token, when I go to the doctor, I may need a renewal of prescription, although I can do it on the phone or on their website. Sometimes, I like to come and sort of question what I'm taking and whether there need to be any changes and any symptoms that I'm noticing, all that sort of thing. So I'll make an appointment to see him about one thing, and then my husband will go, oh, don't forget to ask him about your sore feet or your restless legs or your funny breathlessness or other things that I'd obviously been mentioning to him, but that in the moment when I'm with my doctor, I may not always remember. So I do tend to take him along if I can, and I think that's a sensible measure. He tries to come along when he can, but it is very, very useful not just to have another person hear what the doctor says, but also to have another person who can say, you were going to ask about this or you're going to ask about that. And that's really helpful. And sometimes I go, well, what was the thing I was going to talk to you about that? And he'll say, remember your feet have started to get sore and we wondered whether it was to do with your back or whether it's to do with your arthritis or whether it's to do with your Parkinson's. So he's a really good reminder system, the poor man. So I tend to try and take him. I recommend to anybody that they take another person to the doctors, because when you have a condition that's ongoing and that will worsen over time, it can be very stressful going to the doctor, and very important that you give and receive the right information. So when we're under stress, even those who don't necessarily have an actual memory issue, anybody under stress that's hearing news that they don't want to hear about a diagnosis or getting information about a medication that they need to have and why, This can be stressful, and in stress, our bodies don't like too much stress because they just tend to shut down and don't work so well. So if we get stressed and we get to the point where we're very stressed, our ability to sort of absorb information is adversely affected. So you may think that it's just a run-of-the-mill kind of doctor's appointment, but there may be something important crop up that he wants you to do or wants you to try or wants information about, and to have that second person with that second brain, that second ability to remember is certainly invaluable, and I've found it so myself. So yeah, just a few thoughts on forgetting, the cognitive side of Parkinson's, which, if you like, is the hidden things that people don't realise. If they see you and you don't look Parkinsonian, people will often say, well, you couldn't tell. But you might start talking to them and they'll think, oh, she's not really keeping up with the conversation. This has been Sue for Parkies and me, my journey with Parkinson's. Kia kaha, be brave, be strong, be you.